Watches are kind of a ridiculous thing to collect and make YouTube videos about. Like, these are just a silly little thing to collect. They're silly. They're nothing to take too seriously. There are people starving, there are countries at war, and some of the most horrible, important things are happening. But here I am, nitpicking a luxury good, and arguing with people in the comment section who have differing opinions about luxury trinkets. It's really, truly silly. I needed to preface this video with that to remind myself that collecting watches is crazy. And it comes from a place of immense privilege and wealth regardless of what your price point is. Whether you have a watch that costs hundreds of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars on your wrist right now. It really is just a luxury. But today we have in a watch that really is just a whole nother level of watch. This watch costs more than my entire yearly salary from my full-time day job. An entire year! That's insane! We have in the Journe Chronometre Souverain. I know my French is gonna suck, okay? We're gonna get this out of the way now. No one's gonna like the way I say French words. This is my husband's watch, not mine, which should be needless to say. But I want to take a deeper look into this watch and the cult of Journe. And are watches like this actually worth the money?
Why? And it's been the last 5 years. This brand has gone crazy. Why? Why? He said, have you ever heard of Journe? I said, no, and I'm a collector. I mean, if it mattered, I would have heard of it. He said, no. You have to do a deep dive into Journe.
Look at this little stud muffin. Look at this guy giving you the supermodel stare. This is a young Francois-Paul Journe, and he might just be one of the most influential watchmakers of the modern era. Now, Francois-Paul himself provides half of the romance of Journe watches. I'd describe Journe as a reverent rebel. He's clearly inspired by and has the utmost reverence for the traditions of the past and those who have pushed watchmaking forward, but he also has no interest in keeping to the status quo, and he's been known to get expelled from a school or two. Journe combines the inventiveness of 18th century horology with modern day technology. A classical style with a distinct vision that feels so uniquely him. And just in case you can't tell by this point, I am a massive Journe wanker. I'm just such a big fan of his work, but I know on my salary, Journe watches are way out of my reach. Looking at some of the specifications of this watch, it is quite a large dress watch at 40mm diameter, but a very slim profile at 8mm. It's too large for me on the wrist, but if you have the wrist size to carry it off, it is pure class. James chose the Havana dial in rose gold. The Havana dial itself is kind of insane. So this whole thing, this whole watch is gold. So the case, the dial, the movement, it's all gold. It took Journe's dial makers forever, months, to develop this exact and particular dial color. It's a combination of gold and ruthenium. Ruthenium is some kind of metal element thing. I'd never heard of it till I looked into Journe watches, so I won't pretend I know all that much about it. And Journe is very specific about the dial color. It's such a pretty and balanced watch with the warm brown Clou de Paris guilloche dial, sub-seconds at the 7:30, and power reserve at 3 o'clock. This is not a sports watch, this is not a dive watch, so it has 30 meters of water resistance. And I swear to God, I swear on my life, if I read one comment that says, all that money and you can't even go swimming in it, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. This is a dress watch. This is not the watch you take to the beach. This is not the watch you go scuba diving in. Different watches and genres have different times and places for them. But all that isn't to say this watch can't be dressed down. I think dress watches look so cool when worn down. Style, I love it. It's just the juxtaposition. I love it. It's so much more than just a pretty watch though. I feel like it is filled with hidden treasures and nods to traditional watchmaking. The power reserve is one of those hidden treasures. Looking at the dial, the power reserve is kind of wonky and it seems almost backwards. So when it's fully wound, it should be at 0, and when it's fully out of power, at the 56. So the power reserve doesn't measure or tell you how much power is left, but rather the hours since it was last wound, which is what makes it a chronometre souverain. Sorry for my French pronunciation. I know it's so bad. Chronometry is the consistency in the indication of time. It's all about accuracy and helping people gauge their time accordingly. Okay, so to really illustrate this, we need to turn the watch around. So if you aren't into watches, this is the thing that sets watch geeks' souls on fire. This is the beating heart of a watch. The chronometre souverain movement is thin, but it has depth. Aesthetically, it's a nicely finished movement, and just left of center is the twin barrels that delivers a more linear spring rate throughout its power reserve. Yes, we're going back to the power reserve and how fantastic it is, and the accuracy of timekeeping. So usually a watch has a single barrel, rather than the twin barrels that we see in the Journe here. And as that single barrel watch nears the end of the power reserve, it starts losing more time. It's kind of like it's a bit tired and it starts making mistakes. It starts losing more time. But the twin barrel delivers a more linear spring rate, meaning it should deliver just as accurate of timekeeping, whether it's fully wound or near the end of its power. It's never perfect, and human creations never will be, but it does provide a lot more accuracy. And it's just so cool. And also it's 56 hours of power reserve, which is a decent amount. But still, okay, Brittany, there's all this romantic stuff that you just love. But still, at the end of the day, this is a $38,000 watch. Nearly $40,000. All that money spent on just a watch. And this price that I find so crazy is just entry level into Journe land. There are far more crazily priced FP Journes. Is this thing, that's ultimately just a watch, is it worth that price tag? And how do people justify, people like my husband, how do they justify spending this much money on a watch? People like my husband spending all this money on a watch, she says, whilst wearing a Cartier, pretending she's a peasant. I'm not saying this to sound smug or snobby. I'm saying this because watch collecting does something weird to your brain and what you think the prices of things are, or what you consider expensive to be. It does a thing to your brain, doesn't it? You start taking for granted all these fantastically expensive things that you own. At least I do. Yeah, I need to check myself in this moment here right now. I can't believe how much money I've spent on watches, and I'm really beyond blessed. I'm really beyond blessed, and I love my collection. With the case of FP Journe, which is what we're talking about today, here's how I see it. So this is a watch I could never afford to own. For right now, where I'm at, this is just nowhere in my world. But it's watches like this that really fill me with awe and wonder of what mere humans can create. Watches like this remind me why I love watch collecting and horology so much. This is something that is just exceptional. Loving watches isn't just about what I, myself, can afford. I got into this whole crazy sphere of collecting because of the awe and wonder that it fills me with. And it's watches like this that revive my soul. God, I sound like a wanker, don't I? I don't care. It's true. It's how I feel. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Journe watches. Francois-Paul Journe wasn't born into a long watchmaking dynasty, nor was he a natural academic. He left school at the age of 14, and he really wasn't interested in further studies. It is this person who is making watches at the level of Breguet and Daniels, and that is the magic of the brand. And whether you or me, or whether I can personally afford it or not, that doesn't matter. This is an important watchmaker, and creations like these are the intersection of art, history, engineering, and fashion, which is what a great wristwatch should be. And that is why it is worth making videos about watches you can't afford, and appreciating watches that you can't afford. Okay guys, I'm getting too wanky now. Let's wrap this up. I hope this video was helpful and it wasn't me just rambling too much. I don't know. But don't forget to do all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm gods. And until next time, you beautiful, fabulous, wonderful watch nerds.